At the 2019 Game Developers Conference, you can look forward to an array of talks from speakers across the video game industry. During the week, you will hear from industry legends, niche experts, and amazing advocates, many of whom will want to learn about you and your work as much as you do theirs. For developers looking to manage their time and prevent crunch, you will want to know that Deep End Games co-founder Amanda Gardner will be giving a talk at GDC about improving time management, especially when you have a family. To introduce you to Gardner, we're each turned for a quick Q&A. Come now read below. Would you please introduce yourself and talk about your role in game development? I am Amanda Gardner, the co-founder of the Deep End Games, and I wrote our debut, Perception, which came out in 2017. I am a lifelong gamer and nomophile. My husband Bill, lead designer on BioShock, and design director on BioShock Infinite, make games from home, and although it's crazy sometimes, we would not trade it for the world. Without spoiling it, what will you be talking about at GDC? Time management. Last year, I spoke of the role of mindfulness and the benefits of meditation when in crunch, and while that was the crux of what helped me survive crunch with 4 kids, the real hero was a variety of time management strategies. Spoiler alert, multitasking is not one of them. What excites you most about the future of game development? What could possibly be more exciting about pushing boundaries while making magic? The industry is changing so fast, but it does not have to be a bad thing. I think there's excitement and opportunity that comes with seismic shifts, and we at the Deep End want to ride that wave with our next title. What's something about your specific field you want your colleagues to know more about? Literary nerdery. I taught high school English for over a decade, and I cannot say enough about incorporating literary references into games. We have had enough mythology. Let's tap into some other resources. I love layering narrative with themes, hints, and full-on nods to classic literature, such as All My Sons, The Mayor of Casterbridge, and A Little Nathaniel Hawthorne. Throw in for a good measure. It enriches themes, and just puts a real neat and sort of obscure spin on storytelling. I geek out on it. Did you know that the Soul River series was written with influences from T.S. Eliot and James Joyce? Wild. Tell us about your favorite project you worked on in the last year. Bill and I are close to announcing the Deep End's next project. Mohaha. Keep an ear to the ground. Bring your team to GDC. Register a group of 10 or more and save 10% on conference passes. Learn more. For more details on GDC 2019 visit the show's official website, or subscribe to regular updates via Facebook, Twitter, OS. Gamasutra and GDC are sibling organizations under parent company Informa. Austin-based game studio Certain Affinity has announced plans to open a second development center in Toronto. The company is best known for its work as a co-developer on the Halo, Call of Duty, and Doom franchises, but is now looking to create its own original titles from scratch. As reported by the Austin Statesman, the movie is being financed with an $18 million development loan from Chinese company Leiyu Technologies, which acquired a 20% stake in Certain Affinity back in 2017. The news follows the recent expansion of Certain Affinity's studio in Austin, which was boosted with the addition of an event space and around 55 fresh hires. Company president and founder Max Hoberman said the new Toronto studio will initially house around 16 staffers, and will allow it to tap into the city's various universities and game development programs while laying down international roots. He also believes the expansion is essential if the studio wants to successfully transition to the games as a service model, as they will need more firepower to continue supporting titles post-launch. In the past, we primarily partnered with other developers as an extension of their internal teams, working on a specific subset of a game. Now, we are taking on all the functions of a game in its entirety, from concept to completion, explained Hilberman. We are also transitioning to develop games as a service. So after we ship a game, we will continue to develop new content and features for that game into the foreseeable future. Today's the day Microsoft publicized how much it earned over the 2018 holiday quarter, and while X-console sales were down year-over-year, the company's games business appears to be flourishing. Notably, Microsoft says that during the 3 months ending December 31st, its games-related revenue hit $3 billion, 8% higher than it was in the same period a year prior. That encompasses sales of X consoles, X live services, first-party games and third-party game royalties. And Microsoft says the increase was driven primarily by a 31% year-over-year rise in revenues from X software and services. Meanwhile, X hardware sales actually declined year-over-year by 19%, which Microsoft chalks up to the launch of its more powerful X1 X console during this same quarter last year. Also, the company claims it saw 65 million active X Live users in the month of December, which is about 5 million more than it reported during December of 2017. Microsoft's overall revenues and PROFITX rose more than 10% year-over-year, something the company attributes to the strong performance of its cloud tech businesses. The full article with screenshots was originally posted on the Game Design blog Significant Bits. Unfortunately, Gamasutra no longer allows hot linking of non-HTTPS images, so only the charts are included here. Having grown up with JPEGs, it's somewhat surprising how rarely I play them these days. That desire for a wondrous epic is still there, but pursuing new titles usually results in a feeling of slogging through manufactured bloat. The introductory segments are often filled with painfully gated progression, over-enthusiastic tutorials, and a juvenile narrative. In the limited instances where the opening is great, the overall game loop tends to splinter out into protracted tedium. In either case, I quickly lose interest. This general reaction to modern jerks must have a lot to do with growing up and having less free time, a lower tolerance for anime tropes, and no emotional attachment to the new series. But has not the genre improved overall? Were not the older games just grindfests burdened with copious amounts of random battles? To help answer that question, I thought it would be interesting to quantify some of the less subjective elements of jerks, starting with the fourth generation of consoles. My approach was to replay the first 2 hours of the more renowned jerks released in North America and measure the amount of time it took to reach various gameplay milestones in each one. To avoid the more contentious titles occasionally placed under the jerk umbrella, I only included games with multiple controllable party members, a turn-based battle system, and a character-driven narrative. Despite having played many of these games in the past, I only had a vague recollection of most, and attempted to emulate a first-time completionist experience. I talked to every IP, entered every building, brought up every menu, and skipped no cutscenes or dialogue. I did, however, increase text display and walking speeds wherever possible. My main goal was to measure two elements: time to freedom, TTF, and time to comfort, T. I define time to freedom as the first time the player gets to interact with the game in any way beyond simply advancing cutscenes, and time to comfort as the amount of time it takes to experience all applicable gameplay milestones within a 2-hour limit. These two metrics are meant to show how quickly the player can start experimenting with the game, and how long it takes to experience its main mechanics and gain a certain sense of mastery over them. Additionally, I noted each game's freedom to comfort, FTC, defined as the difference between T and TTF. The common gameplay milestones consisted of the following. A few other elements such as vehicles and mini-games were not included, as they were either not common enough, or typically appeared in the mid to late stages of a game. In addition, I provided a bit of context for each title,